Hello class, my name is Colby Carroll. My topic for the presentation is liability and emergency management. When we're talking about liability can stem from failure to perform or unreasonably bad performance of a specific government duty or duties. There could be a failure to properly train or supervise emergency management workers. There could be a failure to perform duties generally accepted as part of emergency management responsibility. There could be a failure to adhere to a plan at all. If you're just freelancing and winging it, then you could be held accountable and held liable for that. The executive decision making could be poor and lead to a bad overall emergency management response. Or you could have incident commanders who lack wisdom and are in over their heads. These are all things that have a potential of liability issues being subjected to them. There could be a failure to comply with legal duties, such as OSHA laws. OSHA laws are on the books for a reason. Their job is to keep people safe and keep liability issues to a minimum. But violations of any of these things could be used as proof in a civil suit requesting damages for personal injury or wrongful death. So there are real consequences to not performing your duties well as an emergency manager. There are real consequences to not abiding by OSHA laws. And when we're talking about liability, we're usually talking about negligence. Negligence is the most likely cause of harm stemming from emergency management. And there are usually 4 elements to a negligence case in a civil suit. The first of those is that a defendant owes a plaintiff a duty of care, including ordinary care they would normally receive. The second one is that defendants breach that duty by failing to meet applicable standards of care. So you don't get the standard of care that you were supposed to get or should have gotten. The defendant's actions resulted in harm to the plaintiff, and the defendant's breach of duty was cause of plaintiff's injury. And there are a few different types of negligence in this world, but the few that are most known and probably most applicable are medical malpractice suits, which we all know that a lot of doctors pay a lot of money for medical malpractice insurance to avoid having to pay out malpractice suits. That's what the insurance usually is for, is to cover the cost of those. Scope of practice is also a liability issue. If you're trained in something and trained to do something and you go beyond the scope of your training, outside the scope of your practice and training to do something, and you, while outside the practice and scope of your training, do something that results in harm or potential issues, then you could be held liable, and that's a potential liability issue as well. Breach of privacy or confidentiality, usually that's HIPAA. HIPAA is a big part of it. Breach of that is also a violation and usually a liability issue. There's also a premises liability, which means that the people or entity that owns the property or premise is held liable in situations where maybe their premises was used to house people in emergency situations. They could be held liable for issues that come up or happen that results in damage or injury to persons during that time. Gross negligence is also a big thing where you're just over the top negligent, and that usually results in big punitive damages. So all these issues, guys, really could potentially open the door for lawsuits and legal issues, not to mention the people that are hurt in the process, that lose their life, that get injured, that are incapable of being 100% the way they were before the injury happened or the negligence happened. Liability is a big thing in emergency management, and obviously it's something to take into account and be serious about, because you don't want to have liability issues crop up during your emergency management situation, because there's enough problems to worry about and deal with, and enough people to help and help recover and help move on from the incident to worry or have to deal with liability issues too. So all in all, I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you for watching.